Did you ever watch a season feel like it's collapsing and only halfway through the act? Like someone cut the ropes on a trapeze and the crowd is waiting to see whether the athlete grabs the next bar? That's what the Vikings year feels like right now. Promising on paper, messy in motion, and centered on a quarterback who's supposed to be the future, but is instead the measure of how fast a plan can unravel. Reuters, he's the 10th overall pick, the kid who carried a program to trophies and hype, and by every draft chart, he was supposed to be the steady hand. Instead, through 6 starts this season, McCarthy's numbers make you wince more than wonder. Low completion rate, turnovers piling up, a passer rating that's bottom of the barrel for a starter. Those aren't small complaints. They're the cold math that turns confidence into panic on call-in shows and in front offices. Yahoo Thethau. And now the medical reality arrives to complicate everything. McCarthy was placed in the NFL concussion protocol after reporting symptoms following Sunday's loss, which immediately turns a coaching puzzle into a roster emergency. The Vikings are 4-7. The season's margin for error has thinned to dust, and the team now has to decide whether to stick with its original development plan or rip the bandage off and try something else. That choice is where franchises get honest about whether they're building patience or manufacturing excuses. Reuters enter Max Brosmer, the undrafted rookie, who suddenly becomes the narrative's fulcrum. He's the kind of player who, on paper, should be a mop-up option, someone you hope will protect the franchise from a total nosedive. But the NFL has a strange history of surprise books. Brock Purdy, Kenny Pickett, even Justin Herbert had moments people the team would never survive without. If Brosmer goes in and plays well, the conversation about McCarthy's future switches from can he grow to do we even need to? If he stumbles, the Vikings are left with a problem and no clear exit strategy. SI, let's be honest about what makes this particularly ugly for Minnesota. They didn't draft McCarthy as a consolation prize. He was a top 10 pick whose ceiling was supposed to keep the roster competitive for years. Pulling the plug early on a high pick is possible. We've seen teams cut ties quickly, but it's rarely clean. You don't get a top draft pick back, and you don't always find a better answer waiting in free agency. If the Vikings decide to chase a veteran fix next offseason, they'll be paying more than money. They'll pay draft leverage, development focus, and perhaps franchise direction. That's why rip the bandage rhetoric rarely survives a front office meeting. Yahoo Thethau? People like tidy narratives. The rookie flops, the team gets a new starter, and everyone moves on. Reality is messier. McCarthy's struggles aren't all one thing. Not just injuries or not just mechanics or not just coaching. They're a compound of every bit of NFL friction. Missed reps, timing that gets eaten by pressure, setbacks from earlier injuries that interrupt progression, and an offense that needs answers now. Coaching can only do so much if the daily work and practice is interrupted by rehabs and surgical timelines. The moment-to-moment rhythm that turns good players into consistent pros is fragile. Once it's broken, you don't simply turn it back on. ESPN.com. Still, don't confuse public panic for immutable truth. The league is full of late-blooming stories, quarterbacks who needed time, the right coach, or a system that fit their strengths. Sam Darnold's odd arc is the reminder franchises trot out when they want to justify patience. Long odds, but not impossible. McCarthy has talent. College tape and draft pedigree aren't fairy tales. They're data points. The question is whether the Vikings' timeline and appetite for risk line up with the real-world course of his development. If the staff believes the long game is worth the short-term pain, they'll invest. If they don't, decisions get expensive and optics get louder. Yahoo Thethau. There are practical follow-ups to watch this week. First, medical clarity. Concussion protocol moves fast, but recovery is not guaranteed on a calendar. Second, what the coaches do at practice. Do they prepare a game plan around a rookie's strengths if Brosmer gets the nod, or do they try to shield him with quick reads and conservative calls? Third, how the roster responds. A team that believes in its starter will play like it. A team already checking out mentally makes mistakes that look like a quarterback's fault even when they're not. Those barometers tell you more about an organization than a single line ever will. NFL.com. And here's the part that's easy to forget when everyone's hot-takey and impatient. This is still a young player's life. The public conversation is brutal, draft bust or savior, and it rarely allows for nuance. McCarthy's career has now become a series of forks. Get healthy and grow, lose reps and slide, or get benched and watch opportunity evaporate. For the player, the work is the same as it always was. Mechanics, reads, one-on-ones, film, repetition. For the team, the work is political and financial and strategic. For fans, the work is to hold a little restraint and recognize that franchises aren't rebuilt overnight. ProFootballsReference.com. So where does that leave the Vikings? If Brosmer plays well, Minnesota faces a deliciously awkward problem, a cheap, suddenly productive option that complicates a high-priced investment. If Brosmer falters, the team still faces a decision about whether to enter the market for a veteran, which costs cap space and future flexibility. Either way, the path out isn't easy. There's no clean transaction that erases the tension between draft faith and immediate results. That's the paradox of modern NFL roster building. Patience is expensive, impatience is risky, and the scoreboard rarely sympathizes. Yahoo Thethao, one final unromantic truth. NFL careers are built out of tiny, daily habits as much as they are by big, televised moments. A quarterback who takes reps, gets healthy, and executes fundamentals can remake perceptions faster than any pundit's verdict. The flip side is brutal too. A bad string of weeks, and the narrative hardens into something that's hard to reverse. The Vikings are at that hinge right now. One practice, one health update, one underdog start away from altering the season's story. StatMuse, if you're a Vikings fan, here's the thing to carry home. This is not just J.J. McCarthy's problem, nor is it simply the front office's mess. It's a crossroads that will define identity. Are the Vikings patient architects or short-term surgeons? There's no single play that fixes that, no single game that decides it either. But because professional sports love a last line, here's one that might stick. The easiest path is rarely the right one, and when a franchise is forced to choose between speed and sense, the brave option is usually the messy, expensive one that believes in a longer future. You ever make a choice that looks smart in the boardroom and suddenly feels like a bad bet on Sunday? That's the Vikings right now. They bet on J.J. McCarthy's upside, a rookie with pedigree, a rookie contract, and the kind of tools that make front offices salivate. The idea was simple. Develop him, keep cap flexibility, and let the QB grow into a cheap, controllable asset. Problem is, decisions are judged by results, not intent. And through 11 games, those results have been brutal. McCarthy's tape reads like a laundry list of rookie ailments: holding the ball too long, missed reads, forcing throws into tight windows, turnovers, and questionable footwork under pressure. His passer rating is painfully low. You can paper over the numbers with context about scheme changes, missed practice reps from injuries, and new neurological pathways he says he's trying to rewire. But papering over doesn't win divisions. The Vikings are 4-7 and staring at a season that's quietly slipping away while two other quarterbacks they passed on, Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, are steering playoff-caliber teams. This is where the heartbreak lives. The math looked smart. Rookie contract, draft capital conserved, upside on the cheap. But the NFL doesn't reward clever spreadsheets. It rewards wins. And watching Darnold and Jones thrive elsewhere makes the choice sting in a way a practice report never could. Now the plot thickens. McCarthy's availability is in doubt as he entered concussion protocol recently. If he can't go, the Vikings will turn to Max Brosmer, an undrafted rookie who turned heads in the preseason. That's both the scary part and the sliver of hope. If Brosmer plays poorly, as many undrafted rookies might, the Vikings will limp through the finish, and the what-if narrative on McCarthy will grow louder. If Brosmer plays well, you suddenly have a Brock Purdy-style miracle, an unexpected backup who compels a franchise to rethink its plan. The problem, betting your season on an undrafted rookie's hot streak is not exactly a long-term strategy. There's no magical clean exit hatch here. You don't simply press a button and upgrade from a struggling first-round QB to a proven, affordable veteran. The market for quarterbacks is thin and expensive. You can trade for a stopgap, sign a veteran who wants to start, or pull the plug and take your chances in next year's draft. Every option has downsides. You pay either in cap dollars, draft capital, or development time. That's the brutal arithmetic. The Vikings chose a path that bought future value. Now the question is whether they can stomach a short-term pain to win a longer-term prize, or whether patience becomes a luxury they can't afford. Let's be practical about fixes, because this isn't a moral failing. It's a set of solvable problems if the organization treats them like mechanics instead of narratives. First, simplify the offense. McCarthy has said he's being asked to play differently than he was taught. That's not a new storyline. Rookies get new terminology and new timing. The fix is obvious. Cut concepts, speed reads up, put the ball in his hands quickly. Let the run game carry longer scripts, force easier throws, and give him play-action looks that turn complex reads into simple decisions. Young QBs need repetition